Hi, welcome to the 5th video in this series. In this video, we will be establishing connection with the database. If we look at the db configuration.php here, these are all the variables we need, so we don't have to type this in again. We require this file, require login/db php required, and then we give the database connection another variable, mysqli connect, and basically those 4 variables: host, username, password, and db name. We have connected the database. If you want to, you can check if the database is connected. Just print _r and paste this variable into here. Save it, go to your browser and refresh this page. Oops, we need to log in. Yes. If there's no database connection, you won't see this. You'll see an error code instead of this. We don't need this. The next thing I'm going to teach you is quite important. If you learn nothing from my videos, I hope you learn just this one thing. I call it a clean function. There's something called SQL injection, which is a very common security flaw in PHP MySQL applications, but it's also one of the easiest to avoid. Basically, whatever we pass into our SQL, we have to sanitize it. And this is how I do it. I made a clean function. I pass a string into it. I define which database I want to apply it to, and because this is a function, so I have to tell my function that dbcon is a global variable. I will pass in this string, str. The first thing I want to do to the string is I want to trim it. Okay, remove all spaces at the front and the back. The next thing I want to do to my string is I want to strip slashes, remove all slashes. The third thing I want to do to my string is I want to remove HTML entities. Characters like quotes, they have special meaning in MySQL. I don't want people to exploit that and hack into my database. So I don't want characters like open inverted commas to affect my database. So I shall encode all of them into HTML entities. What's HTML entities? HTML entities. You see, it will replace this character with this entity, and this one has no special meaning in the database. Quotes. This is a special character in MySQL, but it will be converted to this, which has no special meaning in MySQL. So this is a safer way of passing information to the database. And lastly, I'm going to do a MySQLi real ASCII string. If that special character managed to pass through all these filters, this is the last line of defense. I need to specify my database connection and the string I'm passing in. So this is the last line of defense against special characters corrupting your database. This one should be ESCAPE. And after we have defined all these functions, the last thing we need to do is we need to return the string. What we can do is we can apply the function to all variables which we pull through the database. Okay, next we shall try to see if we can send an Ajax request. The Ajax request is going to be pushed back into the same page, which will then push the data into the database. Ajax request is a JavaScript. Let me keep that here. .ajax, and you can write the function. So first type post. Okay, second, we don't need to define a URL because it's the same page. But third, we need to define the data that we'll be sending. This should be a comma. We need to define the data that we'll be sending. First, I like to define an action, and I shall call it send content. Next, I like to send this content, so I can call it content, and I shall just copy this to here, and that's all the data I need to send. Next, I want a success function. This is how I do it. We definitely have to change this and everything is working properly, because we don't want the user or any other people to find out the flaws from my success or my error message. So, but for the meantime, I'm just going to log it first. So it doesn't work yet. We need to define the PHP coding. What this does is it just sends an Ajax request. Someone have to receive it. The place to receive the Ajax request is the same page here. We check if anyone has posted variable called action as we did in our Ajax request. If yes, this code will be executed. If someone has posted an action, I should also receive content because they are the same data set that I sent in my Ajax request. Post content. Remember, whenever I receive anything, any variable, I need to sanitize it. But I can't pass this through the clean function. This is the exception. Why? Because the clean function will eliminate all my slashes, all my quotes. I need my quotes, because if we are passing HTML code into the database, we need our slashes and our quotes. So the only thing I can do to sanitize it is I can apply this function to this. It should be quite safe because this content is generated from the JavaScript. Next, I need to write the SQL statement. I create a variable called SQL1 and I'm going to write the statement. Quotes, double quotes, and semicolon. Now you can type out the statement by yourself, but for me, I prefer to get it from here. Go to phpMyAdmin, select the database and select the table. Click on SQL and update. Remove everything I don't need. I don't need to set ID, username, password. I only need to set the content. And I need to identify which row to send it to. Username, of course. Copy this and I paste it here. Now this is a line of text which I'm passing in, so I need to put it in quotes. I already use double quotes here, so I can only use single quotes here. The same apply for username. I cannot type in content here because if I type in content here, $content, this statement will send in $content to the database. But when I type in $content here, I mean it as a variable, not a text. I have to break this statement, append my variable, and continue with the statement. To break this statement, we put in double quotes and dot dot. So in between double dots, put in the variable content. The statement will be processed like this part appended to this one. Now it recognizes it as a variable, which is have all this here that we have posted in, and append it to the rest of the statement. The same logic applies to the username. This user. Now that we have written a statement, we shall pass it into the database. Create a variable called query1 and using MySQL query function. So we have to define the database. We have to define the connection link, which is dbcon, and the SQL statement. Save it. By now it should work. Let's test it. So if we go to our browser, go to our admin.php, refresh, and we just drag anything into here. Okay, before we click save, let's check our database. Go to members. We see that content is empty. Click save. Once we are done, check our members table. Hey look, we have HTML code in our content column. It works. This Ajax request, it pushed this code that we have output into our database. That's the first step, but we have a problem. If we come back here and we refresh it, realize that everything is gone. Of course, that will not be good because every time you refresh it or every time the user log out, everything that they have created is gone, although it is still saved in their database. So we have to display this coding here so that next time they log in, whatever things that they have saved previously is preserved. That means we have to extract this coding into our content area here. What we do is we go back to our atom, scroll down, and look for this div here. This is the content area div. We have to output the data in the database into this area. So we do that using PHP. Next, we type a statement SQL, because now we are extracting from the database, so we just select. You can use a select statement, username, and select star means select everything, but we don't need everything, we only need content. So we have that, copy and quotes, semicolon, and paste whatever we copied into here. Username equals to single quotes, and we have to break the statement to accommodate the variable. The variable is this user, and paste it between the dots. Save it. This is the statement. Next, we have to pass the query into the database. Query 2. The link is this one, dbcon, and the statement is SQL2. So now that we have queried, we need to fetch the row. We need to fetch that row which is the output, and this will be query 2. And lastly, we need to output whatever we fetched, and this fetch associated, the output is an array. We have to define which column, what is the name of the array column. Save it and go back to the browser, refresh. You see, this is output. So now the user, they can change this, put in a picture here, save it, refresh, it stays like this. Can do some more testing, save it, refresh. So now we see that it is preserved. Whatever changes that they have made is preserved. So this is the admin interface. I would say we are almost 90% done for now. Perhaps we can go back and we can try to add in a navbar for presentation purpose, and in our JavaScript we can blank this out, we can blank this out, we can blank this out. We don't want the public to see our logs, so what we can do is we can alert the message here and we can say saved. If the Ajax request is successful, they will see a feedback like this. Refresh. Save. Yes, it says saved here. Next, let's put in a navbar up above. To put in a navbar, we go to Google and we can Google Bootstrap navbar. Go to the first link and scroll down. Okay, this is the code that I want to use. Select everything, copy, go back to my atom, scroll up, and here, yes, give myself some space and paste. Let's see how it looks like in the browser. Refresh, it looks like that. Now I don't need all this, I don't need all those. I can remove them one by one. I don't need the items on the right. I don't need this form. Let's see how it looks like. Drop down, I don't need all this. I don't need the drop down. I don't need anything that's active. Basically, I don't need this. Okay, I can replace this with save. I need to give it an ID equals to save, because that's how my JavaScript identify it. Delete this. Let's test it. Refresh. Say save. Maybe let me change something. I put in 2 pictures here. Then I click save. Saved. Okay. Refresh. Okay, it's preserved. Now the next thing we want to do is, can we output this into a web page where the public internet can see and the public internet won't be able to change any components. See you in the next video.